My ex tried to cheat, but I got the last laugh. As expected, it didn't take long before we matched. I knew we would. It was almost too easy. We started chatting, and Jake, my boyfriend, immediately fell into the trap. The flirting escalated quickly, and within a few days, he was already telling Sarah how single he was and how he lived with a friend. The audacity. He was lying through his teeth while literally living in my apartment, sleeping in my bed, eating the food I paid for. Speaking of paying for things, Jake had been unemployed for months. He lost his job, and I took on all the responsibilities: rent, bills, groceries. I drained my savings for him because he manipulated me into thinking that's what family does. He'd say, "We take care of each other when times are tough," every time I'd mention that I couldn't keep supporting him. And yet, here he was, planning to cheat on me with a woman he thought he met online. The final straw came when he asked me for $50 one day. He said it was for his mom's birthday and that he wanted to buy her something nice. At that point, I was so deep into my plan that I handed him the money just to see where this would go. I couldn't help but laugh inside as I watched the smile spread across his face, thinking he was pulling one over on me. Little did he know what I had in store. A few days later, Sarah suggested they meet up. Jake was all for it. He was so excited about the idea that he agreed to pay for a hotel room so they could have some fun. It was ridiculous. Here he was, unemployed, draining my bank account, and somehow finding money for a hotel room to cheat. We picked a spot, and I told him I'd meet him that weekend. I kissed him goodbye that Saturday, wished him a great time at his mom's, and even told him to take his time. Then, as soon as he was out the door, I packed up all his stuff, put it outside, and changed the locks on the apartment. The best part? I kept messaging him as Sarah, telling him I was running late, but that I'd be there soon. I sent him a few flirty pictures, courtesy of my friend, just to keep him on the hook. He was so desperate that I even convinced him to send me a video of himself, doing things I'd rather not describe. The level of humiliation I felt for him was beyond words. It was around 1 a.m. when I finally sent him the last message, a picture of his belongings being rummaged through by a homeless man. I told him to enjoy his stay at the hotel and that I wouldn't be coming after all. The moment his phone rang, I blocked his number and went to bed. That Monday, when I came home from work, he was outside my door, sobbing. He was ugly, crying, begging me to take him back, telling me he was homeless now and had nowhere to go. I stood there, cold and unmoved. When I refused to let him in, he did what he always did: he got angry. He started grabbing at me, trying to force his way into the apartment. That's when I called the police. I wasn't about to let him intimidate me anymore. Looking back, I should have known something was up. My ex, let's call him Jake, had been acting strange for a while. It started with little things, keeping his phone on silent, hiding the screen when I walked by, and eventually, he started sleeping with his phone in his pocket. I filed for a restraining order that day because, in his rage, he had threatened my life, and my pets, for kicking him out. That was the last time I ever saw him. I heard through the grapevine that he moved a few hours away to live with some family. He even got a job. Maybe, just maybe, he learned something from the whole ordeal. As for me, I learned that trusting your gut is important, and never again will I let someone take advantage of my kindness the way Jake did. Now, I'm not the kind of person to snoop or jump to conclusions, but something in my gut told me this was a red flag. It's one of those things that, in hindsight, seems so obvious. At first, I didn't say anything. I convinced myself I was being paranoid, that I was overreacting. But as time passed, the feeling wouldn't go away. I started noticing how he wouldn't even pull out his phone in front of me anymore, like he was hiding it. If it buzzed or beeped, he'd step away or make some excuse to leave the room. It was all so suspicious. But I still held my tongue, not wanting to cause drama if there was nothing there. One night, though, my suspicions became reality. It was late, maybe around 2 a.m., when his phone slipped out of his sweats while he was asleep. I didn't even think twice at first. I reached down to put it back on the charger, like I had done a million times before, but then something caught my eye. Notifications, tons of them. My heart dropped. The screen was lit up with messages from some dating app. That was it. That was the moment I knew. He was cheating, or at least trying to. I wanted to slap him awake, scream, and throw him out right then and there. But something stopped me. Instead, I took a deep breath, put the phone back down, and went to bed. I wasn't going to react out of anger. No, I was going to handle this in a way he would never forget. The next morning, an idea started forming in my mind. If he thought he was going to cheat on me, I was going to beat him at his own game. I decided to create a fake dating profile to catfish him. I used pictures of a friend of mine, let's call her Sarah, who he'd never met. She had the look he always seemed to be into, blonde, blue eyes, and the type of girl he'd stop in his tracks for. Sarah was on board with the plan, and we made sure the pictures were flirty but not too obvious. I wanted to keep things believable,